All right, good morning. It's 10 o'clock, and we're here for the Works partner-sponsored version of KETA coaching on Hero Benefits Network. What I mean by that is Carrie and I have run the Annie Mac Works real estate productivity platform for many years, and we've been successful garnering realtor-referred purchase business from residential real estate agents through the Works platform. And I wanted to take some time today to really talk about what you guys have at your fingertips, what you have as mortgage bankers associated with the Hero Benefits Network, and what you have as mortgage bankers associated with our Works partner program. If you're a mortgage banker today, you may be just interested in loan volume, in which case we can help you refer with realtor-referred purchase business. We've got a lot of experience with gaining traction with the residential real estate community. Specifically, how do you get a realtor's attention? How do you build some sort of appreciation between you and the realtor that they appreciate and maybe even have some mutual respect for what you're doing to help them? And then how does that attention and appreciation convert into loyalty? That's been my life's work for the past 40 years. But if you're also a mortgage banker who's interested in recruiting productive, talented MLOs, perhaps you're an executive level leader in the mortgage business, or maybe you're a branch manager, a non-originating branch manager, or maybe you're an originating branch manager or sales manager, and you could benefit from profitability, recruiting, training, and retaining a sales force and helping you manage your sales force. That's where the Works productivity platform and the Hero Benefits Network really take a branch to the next level. In other words, it's one thing to help one MLO be productive. It's another thing to build a culture of realtor-referred purchase business, a culture of putting the realtors first that attracts MLOs and attracts production so that you can train and retain a bigger sales force. So I always like to start out with this screen, because if you're the mortgage banker asked to speak in front of the Keller Williams audience, or if you're the MLO asked to speak in front of the RE/MAX audience, you've got to come up with what you're going to say. And what I hear as a real estate agent most often is, I've got great rates, I've got great products, and I've got great service. I'm the only one who answers my phone. I'm the only one who returns your call. I'm the only one who has the capability to keep communication alive between you and me during your mortgage application. Like, the shit that I hear from mortgage bankers in front of realtors is utterly ridiculous. But they're still $1 million a month, $2 million a month guys, but they don't think about what's in it for the realtor. They don't think about what the realtors are concerned with. I mean, I look at that audience of realtors in front of me, I don't necessarily think about, Keller Williams versus RE/MAX versus Century 21 versus Sotheby's. I think about, what do the individual agents in that room need? So I want to encourage you to think today with me about how you currently meet and connect with realtors. Do you host events? Are we going to be hosting events in Houston, Austin, College Station? Are we going to be going to the local boards of realty? Are we going to be going to the local public libraries? Are you going to partner with builders and developers to host events at their community centers or their condominium clubhouses, right? What tools do you currently use from inside of your company, or from inside the Works platform, or from inside the Hero Benefits Network to get a response from realtors? How do you get them to raise their right eyebrow and come closer to you? And is this even important to you? Maybe you're happy doing $1 million a month or 2 or 3 deals a month, and maybe you already do 6 or 7 and you don't need any more help. But if you're a person who's interested in growing your real estate referral network, if you're interested in growing the the pipeline of realtor referred business, you've got to start thinking about it from a standpoint of what's in it for the realtors. What's the value proposition from the realtor's perspective? Some of you will say, I provide great rates, great products, and great service. I don't need a value proposition from my realtors. And then some of you say, I'm a stud, dude. Realtors freaking love me. I don't need your help. But some of you who are at the 1 to 2 deal a month range or 2 to 3 deal a month range are really eager to help their realtors overcome challenges. And when you think of the challenges that realtors have right now, I mean, last year and the year before, maybe you would have thought, well, if I could just give them some leads or I can help them with their marketing. But the word listing acquisition should be paramount in the residential real estate communication moving forward. So I want you to start thinking about the listing agent, because the golden rule of real estate is the guy with the gold makes the rule. And especially in the advent of the NAR settlement, we're watching residential real estate listing agents change their demeanor. The listing agents aren't as eager to offer 2, 3, 4% commissions in the MLS, because if they have a 6% listing, they have an opportunity to double that listing rather than to farm it out to the MLS. So it's making the buyers sort of have to decide between going directly to the listing agent for information on that house, or do they go to a buyer's agent and strike a buyer brokerage agreement? That's what I mean to say when the guy with the gold makes the rule. And you might not be seeing those types of changes in your local market in Keokuk, Iowa, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but I can assure you over time, you're going to see this golden rule rear its ugly head. So we're officially pronouncing 2025 as the year of the listing agent. Now, I want you to think of one sentence that could change the dynamic, change the paradigm of your relationship between you and your realtors. If I could help you take more listings, would you want to work more closely with me? That's it. If I could help you take more listings, would you be interested in working more closely with me as a mortgage partner? So we need to start to think about giving realtors tools, resources, and strategies that they need so that they can take more listings. If I could help you take more listings in 2025, would you consider working more closely with me as a mortgage banker? Well, Works Partner is designed to make it a win-win partnership between you and your real estate agents. So how can I help you take more listings? Well, there's 4 down at the bottom that I've been watching residential real estate agents partner with mortgage bankers on things like open house and property flyers. I've got mortgage bankers that have these cool flyer systems that they pay for, and they allow the realtors to use their open house and property flyers. It's not a really strong selling proposition, but it is one that I've been watching mortgage bankers offer to realtors. How about showing realtors, teaching realtors how to use Reels and how to use TikTok videos and how to use the new X platform to leverage the power of video? I watch mortgage bankers set up green screen studios or help their realtors download a teleprompter into their phones so that they can do first-class videos with their realtors, and you can do them co-branded, Cross Country Mortgage and RE/MAX. That becomes an even more valuable video in the hearts and minds of the consumer. So there's 4 ways right here on your screen. One of my partners in Charlotte, North Carolina, hired a drone photographer to teach a class on drone photography. And then he invited realtors to that drone photography class, knowing that most of the realtors who attended the class would never, ever fly a drone. But that some of his DIY realtors might gain enough information to fly their own drones and take their own drone photography. On the other hand, the guy who taught the class gets to promote himself as a professional drone photographer to the realtor. So it is a symbiotic win-win relationship between the drone photographer and the mortgage banker. The mortgage banker brings the drone photographer in to teach basic drone photography skills, and the realtors attend to learn those skills, but then also they may use that drone photographer in the future as a symbiotic friendship between the mortgage banker, the drone photographer, and those realtors. One other thing that you could teach, very, very basic, is how to boost their listings to the right audience on social media. When you're teaching realtors geomapping and how to drop ads, if you learn those skills, just these 4 things, you don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to join WorksPartner. You could just start working on these 4 between you and your realtors, and you'd already amplify the value proposition that you're bringing to your realtors. But we've got some proven listing strategies that I can share with you. You're probably already a member of WorksPartner and don't even know it. If you're part of Hero Benefits Network, most of my mortgage bankers that join Hero Benefits Network also join WorksPartner. So you could combine a Hero Benefits Network event in your local market with List to Last, which is what we just did in Catawba Valley. We're doing a List to Last with Hero Benefits Network certification right at the Board of Realty next week, this Friday, actually. So by leveraging the List to Last residential real estate system, then you have an opportunity to attract even more realtor eyeballs to your Hero Benefits event. I mentioned to you guys many, many times that direct mail gave me quite a launch in my residential real estate career. We worked with a direct mail guru named Dan Kennedy, a gentleman named Dan Kennedy, and he taught us his PowerPoint system for direct mail. And it was able to take my listing inventory from, say, 3 or 4 listings a month to 6, 8, 10, 12 listings a month. And we share the Miracle Letter with your agents, and we teach them how to use it. We also teach them some scripts, campaigns, and marketing strategies for the expired listing gold mine. This is about a 45-minute tutorial that your agents can go through to understand that opportunity a little bit better. One of my most established mortgage partners is in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra area, and he uses our Farming Fridays program to bring realtors together to meet over and over. In fact, Bill Litton up in Pennsylvania just hosted a RE/MAX office for Farming Fridays, and the feedback was fantastic as per Bill. So remember, what we're talking to you about today is how can you bring a broader value proposition to your residential real estate partners? Well, imagine if you were meeting the same RE/MAX office 6 weeks in a row for Farming Fridays. That's 6 weeks of relationship built with those agents. What if all you did was approach a Coldwell Banker agent and say, hey, can we bring a staging certification in to your office? So many listing agents across the country are taking listings not by offering a free CMA, not by sending red velvet cake recipe cards, but actually offering staging analysis to would-be home sellers. To offer a $600 value staging certification that can increase the equity position in your house by 6 to 13%. Do you believe that? Do you believe that an unstaged home could sell for 6 to 13% less than a staged home? Well, if you don't believe that, you don't know much about residential real estate, because the cleanliness of the windows and screens, the way the welcome mat and the front door look, the way the front landscaping looks, the way the bathrooms and kitchens look, all affect the saleability of a home to the tune of 6 to 13%. So when you work with somebody to rectify clutter issues, declutter, deodor, too much moisture, too much dampness, too much cobwebs, too many screens that are dirty, too many windows that are dirty, too much CLR calcium, lime, and rust. You've got an opportunity to help a family stage their property prior to putting it on the market. And I can tell you that I have personally taken over 3,400 listings in my life. And that phenomenon of listing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes a year for 40 years is sincerely the birth of these products. Meaning, how do you differentiate yourself to somebody that owns a pit bull? How do you differentiate yourself to somebody who owns a Doberman? You say, hey, have you ever thought about working with a pet-friendly real estate agent? When your real estate agents stand out from a sea of sameness and just jump off the page as a pet-friendly real estate agent, they can host pet-friendly real estate events at the Humane Society, teach which communities are pet-friendly, where there's pet parks, teach how you move with a pet, how you get a Xanax prescription for your dog before the move. All the things that you would need to know about moving with a pet are just cute, unique selling propositions, just differentiating your realtors, your real estate referral partners from other real estate referral partners. If you ever get in front of a real estate office, just ask for a show of hands. How many of you have ever listed an REO property, a bank-owned foreclosure? Have you ever known of a realtor who lists bank-owned properties? Would you ever want to be a realtor that hosts and lists bank-owned properties? Well, REO listing opportunities is real. You as a cross-country mortgage banker, you as a Nexa mortgage broker, you as an Annie Mac MLO can offer REO listing opportunities out to the realtors in your community. Guess what? We also give them a free list of asset managers that they can apply to. And we teach them the protocol on how to make those applications. Believe it or not, my first listing in the residential real estate business back in 1986-87 was a mortgage bank called Kislak Mortgage, Kislak, I believe it was. And Kislak entrusted a young zit-faced 18-year-old kid with an REO listing. So this isn't foreign to the realtors. It's only foreign to you as a mortgage banker, right? So when you walk into Coldwell Banker and you say, hey, I've got great rates, great products, or great service, that's one way to approach them. Another way to approach them is raise your hand if you've ever taken an REO listing. Have you ever heard of an application process where you can get in with asset managers who have listings to refer out right here in Hickory, North Carolina? If you talk to a broker owner right now, anybody in this industry with more than 20 years experience, they're going to tell you that the objection handling techniques of the listing side of the conversation is where most of their agents fail. When somebody asks them, hey, what is your commission? They stammer, and stump, and they kick the can. They don't know how to answer those questions. When they say, how many houses have you sold like mine? Or have you sold any houses in this neighborhood? So when you're dealing with objection handling techniques on the buyer side, you're usually talking to buyers that are refusing to buy a house. But when you're talking to people who are on the listing side, they're not listing with you personally, right? The realtor's getting stymied because they're not handling the objections properly. If you could ever get you and me alone with a top real estate broker in town, they would beg us to teach their real estate agents how to properly address objection handling on the listing side of the conversation, because there are different objections on the listing side than there are on the buy side, right? So we've got to help our realtors navigate listing side objection handling in a completely different way. Now, if you ever decided to join forces and lock arms with the Hero Benefits Network and the Works Partner Program, we have a CRM built inside of your portal whereby you can categorize your realtors into groups, whether it's all these realtors are at the Century 21 office or all these realtors have attended Farming Fridays. all these realtors were interested in REO opportunities. You can categorize your realtors, and then you can communicate to them in groups. So you can say, hey, I want to communicate to all my DISC personality profile realtors. I want to communicate to all my Century 21 realtors. I want to talk to all my RE/MAX realtors. Or you could have one big group and say, hey, all of my realtors, I'm doing an event at the Catawba Valley Association of Realtors on Monday. And because they're already in your white labeled portal, you have an access point to communicate them with you. And some of you are rolling your eyes right now. Russ, why do I need another way to communicate them? Well, because your bank gives you a CRM. And if you're smart, you have your own personal email. And then, oh, by the way, you have a Works account or a Hero Benefits Network account where you can communicate to them just from the Hero platform or just from the Works platform. You understand? Now, it's 10:21. I'm going to do this in about 10 more minutes today. But this is personal for me within the residential real estate community, because write this down. 71% of all realtors in America did not sell a house during the last 12 months. 71% of all the realtors did not sell a house in the last 12 months. So the top 29% of realtors sold a house last year, and the lower 71% did not. Well, how a realtor identifies as a real estate professional is going to affect whether they're a good real estate referral partner for you, right? So I can tell you I was the perfect real estate referral partner. I was loyal. I had the same MLO for 11 years. The only thing she did every birthday, she bought me a birthday present, but it was nothing significant. It was just a little gesture, maybe hockey tickets or a bottle of whiskey. But she didn't pay me money or share my leads. But I was loyal to her for the first 12 years that I was a real estate agent because she was a success partner of mine. And I think that success partnership meant that it was almost like a WWE tag team wrestling partnership, right? I saw she and I skating with the puck down the ice, and I would pass it to her, and then she'd pass it back to me, then I'd pass it to her, and she'd pass it back to me. Well, all the ambition of a 1986 residential real estate professional led me to become the top volume, gross closed commission, top listing brokerage, top sales volume brokerage, and the top transaction volume award for Exit Realty Corp International, which at the time, I think they got to a little bit over 600 real estate offices when I was running with them. But we were number one in all four categories for multiple years. And the reason I bring that up is because if we're doing 350 real estate transactions a month as a real estate brokerage, we've got a lot of help we can give to that average Hickory real estate brokerage that's doing 20 transactions a month. Can a brokerage doing 350 transactions a month teach a brokerage that's doing 10 transactions a month? Yes, we can. And is the teaching relevant? Yes, it is. We can help them by giving them direct mail systems that work and continue to work in 2025, even better today than they did just a few years ago. Because when interest rates were at 2.5% or 3%, you didn't have to work that hard to get a deal. But today, these direct mail letters are making a huge difference. Well, as you look at our system and you start to understand what we're doing in a partnership with your real estate agents, essentially, we started with the miracle letter, but then we realized nobody knew how to take a listing. So we had to teach them the objection handling techniques and the bulletproof listing appointment. Then we had to teach them how to become an REO listing agent. Then we had to teach them how to do staging. Then we had to teach them how to become a pet-friendly real estate agent. Now we're teaching real estate agents how to take advantage of the Essential Employee Relocation Company and the Hero Benefits Network, how to get ahead of cops, firefighters, teachers that might be retiring and where they're thinking about relocating to. We also always do courses with our banking partners on FSBOs and expireds and farming. So you've got this plethora of things, but what we're essentially trying to figure out is, how do the realtors identify? How do you identify a good realtor versus a bad realtor? And I like to put this little tongue-in-cheek identify. Gender identification has become a national dialogue, right? It's he, him, she, what, who, them. Well, I want you to think of the submodalities. Okay, so if you do identify as female, do you identify as a woman, a lady, or a girl? Do you identify as a mother, a sister, a grandmother? Yes, you identify as a female woman, but do you also identify as a daughter? So how you identify as a female is a gender specific, but then it's also the submodalities of how that female identifies within her gender. Is she a woman of faith? Is she a positive woman? Is she a caring woman? Here you go. Is she single or is she married? Is she widowed or is she dating? Is she an employee or an employer? How you identify, are you an entrepreneur? Are you a W-2 person? Are you a professional person? Or are you a blue-collar person, right? How you identify is going to dictate what you achieve. If you're a woman, are you a gregarious woman or are you a demure woman? Are you timid and shy or are you outspoken? Are you a leader or are you a follower? Again, are you an entrepreneur or are you an employee? Even more important from a morality standpoint and or from a character standpoint, is someone classy and elegant or loud with a temper? Is someone strategic and steely-eyed and energetic, or are they responsive and reactive and redundantly non-energetic and someone who's a little burnt out, right? So as we explore this identification with your realtors, it's our job at Works Partner, it's our job at HBN to identify the realtors that you're working with and to understand what type of a realtor are they. And I'm going to say this once and for all. What realtors you meet, how many realtors you meet, when you meet realtors, what they do every day, that matters, right? How many clients are they referring to you? When are they referring clients to you? How many clients and how do they refer their clients to you? These are all the how-tos and what-tos and when-tos of your relationship to a realtor. But if we do a good job identifying, I can tell you it's infinitely more important who they are as a realtor, why they're a realtor, what is their self-image as a realtor, and what kind of a mindset are they carrying to it. So just identifying realtors is one thing, but identifying the right realtors is probably the most important thing, because I'd rather have 15 good referral partners than 50 shitty ones. So the what you're doing becomes important, but who you're doing it with is infinitely more important. So that's why I want to start to identify your realtors. Are they listing agents or buyer's agents? Are they consultants or clerks? If you're a realtor, are you a guru or are you a gopher? Are you a presenter or do you take orders? Are you an order taker? Like, are you a clerk or are you a consultant? A realtor needs to identify themselves. Are they a teacher or are they just escorting people around? So the submodalities of the residential real estate identifiers become more important than how many realtors you get, more important than how many realtors you're working with. Identifying which realtors you're working with is way more important than that you're working with realtors. Of course, you're going to be working with realtors if you're in the mortgage business. Hell, I always say, if you don't like drunks, don't open a bar. If you don't like realtors, don't open a mortgage company, right? But in the context of realtors, which ones are hunters and which ones are scavengers? Because hunters bring me deals, but scavengers ask for deals, right? So when you're out courting realtors, start thinking about how to identify your hunters from your sharks from your catfish, right? Who's sitting on the bottom waiting for a deal to fall to them, and who's out there proactively managing their database? Who's out there working every day? Are you working with people who are entitled and burnt out, where they say, I gotta go show a house? Or they get to go help a family? Do they get to go show a house? Do they get to go do an open house? Do they got to go show a house, got to do an open house? This is a great way to identify positive, proactive realtors from the 71% that didn't sell a house in the last 12 months and almost certainly won't sell a house in the next 12 months. So as I'm identifying, when we're working with you, we're having realtors raise their hand because they use the word we instead of the word I. I want realtors that use the word we, and I want them to refer to the collective we as me and them. Cross Country Mortgage and RE/MAX. It's a we. It's not an I anymore, right? That's how a business person thinks. Are you a business person, or are you just a realtor? Are you optimistic, or are you jaded? Are you going on listing appointments, or are you just showing property? I can tell you what, guys, if I'm working with somebody who doesn't have any listings in 2025, I got to encourage them to start taking some listings, brother. You know, if I'm going to be grateful instead of entitled, it's because I'm going out and putting signs in the ground. I've got my own listing inventory. I'm not running a shoe store free from shoes. I'm not running a pizza joint with no pizza in it. I've got listings in my inventory. That's why I'm a productive realtor. So when you're identifying realtors, are they going on listing appointments, or are they just showing property? You can kind of smell ripe and rotting on people. When you bring up things at a seminar, you bring up, let's get together and talk. You know, they're closed-minded. They're ripe and rotting instead of green and growing. And I think that's one of the great identifiers in a professional relationship. Are they green and growing, or are they ripe and rotting? Are they reading and learning every day? You know, I'm studying a lot of Joyce Meyer, and I'm studying a lot of Jordan Peterson. So Jordan B. Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, The Mind Connection, Battlefield of the Mind. These are all the types of books that we're studying right now to take our opportunity to the next level with you as a mortgage banker. But are the realtors you're working with sound a little bit more like Archie Bunker? Are they all bent out of shape and grumpy? Do they have their, fingers in their ears from a standpoint of learning? Or are they still open-minded and learning? That's a real important identifier. So now I'm going to go through several types of realtors. And believe it or not, the realtors will identify themselves here on our form. They fill this out for us. And I can tell you the percentages will blow your mind. About 1% of the realtors in the real estate industry are what we call silver spoon realtors. They're very affluent. They have an affluent group of friends. They have a loyal network of people who trust them because they're socially, politically, emotionally connected to a large group of affluent people. Well, I figure that to be about 1% of the realtors. You hear that all the time, the top 1%. They're just this affluent class of people, and they don't have to work that hard outside of their own sphere of influence, right? They're just setting up. They're just setting up relationships that already exist. Established realtors have large consumer databases with past consumers who trust them. If you notice an established realtor in your local community, you're probably dealing with about 80% of their transaction volume is listing side, and only about 20% of their transactions is buyer side. But the good news is you used to avoid those people, right? You used to go, I'm only looking for buyer side transaction volume. Well, now you can't do that anymore. You have to work with the listing agents because they're going to be the ones that are controlling all of the buyer side inquiries. So even though they do 80% listing side transactions themselves, they're going to build themselves a team or a teamerage where they can have 3 or 4 buyer's agents working under their established realtor. What's next? Emerging realtors. Emerging realtors are my favorite group of realtors because they represent still the top 25 to 29% of realtors, but they're not quite as established or as affluent as the silver spoon realtors or the established realtors, but they might be doing, 8 to 16 transactions per year now. My theory has always been that if someone qualifies as an emerging realtor, it's because they're working time blocks. They're proactive in their business ventures. They have a few work bursts each week that they stick to. Maybe they're prospecting on Tuesday mornings, or maybe they're working open houses on Saturday. But because they're working time blocks, proactive time blocks, their work bursts are compelling them towards 16 transactions a year. And if you start to look at 8 to 16 as the target audience for emerging realtors, are they doing between 8 and 16 deals? You'll find that they're getting closer and closer to becoming an established realtor because they're so proactive in their time blocks, meaning they're protecting time in their week to do proactive business development work. If they're not doing that, run. Freaking run. They're just garbage. If they're not doing proactive, regular time blocks in growing their business, they're probably never going to grow their business. Now, in Blue Ink, there is a group of realtors that can do business, and you'll learn more and more about them. They're called dependent realtors. A dependent realtor is someone who works for another realtor as a team member, and their team leader is probably trying to direct where their mortgage business goes. That's why you've got to work with the established realtors, because they're the ones building the teams, and they've got 3 or 4 or 5 dependent realtors that work for them, right? So if you want to guide the mortgages of that team, you've got to be working with the established realtor at the top so that you can access those emerging realtors and those dependent realtors that work for them. There's another kind of a dependent realtor, and that's someone who's just taking leads from like a Zillow, a Realtor.com, OptCity, Redfin. Typically they're netting less than 50% of their commission, but they're able to still do 8 to 16 deals a year because they are dependent realtors. They're working directly for a source that's providing them leads. About 28% of all realtors in America are going to qualify as wandering realtors. And I like to maybe even refer them to a complacent realtor, a wandering realtor or a complacent realtor, meaning, hey, I only need to do like $1 million a year to get me some screw around money. I don't have to do much business. I only want to sell about 3 or 4 houses a year. And, in my opinion, those pieces of shit are the reason that nobody in America respects realtors. These complacent, lethargic, they don't read, they don't study, they don't learn, they don't know how to present. They're just a wandering generality piece of shit, making everybody else's life miserable. They don't know how to do contracts right. They don't know how to write addendums properly. They don't know how to do anything. Now, there are some complacent realtors that are competent, but the competency in this group is really, really low. And believe it or not, that's about 1/3 of all realtors in the country. Now, there's this last group of realtors that I know a lot of them. They're just secret agents. They've got their real estate license, but they're the only person that knows about it, right? On their social media, there's nothing about real estate. They don't own a website. They don't do any advertising. They don't do any marketing. They don't do any direct mail. They don't do any business whatsoever. They're just a piece of shit, taking up space in an industry, wasting everyone's time and money. I hate these people. So the bottom group of realtors, dependent realtors, I can still work with them because they're probably going to bump into a nut once in a while as a blind squirrel. Even as a blind squirrel, they're going to bump into something. But the wandering realtors and the secret agent realtors, you want to know something? That's 56% of all realtors. Wandering realtors and secret agents. And when I call wandering complacent realtors, wandering generality realtors, these are the realtors that just don't do shit. They screw everything up for everybody else. And then the secret agents, they're just licensed, taking up space, hanging their license at a brokerage. And they're also the most cynical, negative, ugly, unprofessional, need dental work. Their hair's a mess. Their clothing is a mess. They're just utterly useless people. But they got into the real estate business because they thought it looked easy. And then they just stayed a secret agent or a wandering generality. And then they ended up quitting. And their quit rate is about a year or two. But, with 1.4 million realtors in America, how can you go out and court realtors if you don't identify which realtors that you're going to court? I'd rather have you say this, more is not better. Better is better. So as we get to know each other better through the Hero Benefits Network and the Works Partnership platform, we can help you identify dependent realtors, emerging realtors, established realtors, and silver spoon realtors. And between you and me, the best target audience on there is emerging realtors. If I can find those realtors that have multiple sources of business working proactive time blocks, those are the realtors that I'm going to be able to build a business around, because they're already doing between 8 and 16 deals, but they might end up doing 25 deals if we work together with them and teach them how to take listings better. I'm just going to end my time with you on this. It's a quickie. Top listing agents work through multiple sources of business and time blocks. So the example we've been giving you about emerging realtors, and these are the realtors that identify with us the most. They say, hey, every Monday night, my husband takes my kids to the soccer field. So on Monday nights when they're at soccer, I'm going to spend 5 to 7 p.m. doing a works burst. Every Tuesday morning, my oldest son takes the kids to school, and he takes them out of my hair from 7 to 9 on Tuesdays. So I'm able to do some really good time blocking on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 a.m., working on my direct mail, working in my sphere of influence, working on my farm area. And then I know that on Thursdays, after the kids go to school, I've got from 9 to 11 every Thursday where I can work for a couple hours on my REO listing applications, or I can work on my Hero Benefits Network program. And then on Saturdays, I always take Saturday afternoons to do my open houses. I do a fantastic mega open house every Saturday, and I try to do about 40 Saturdays a year so that I can have a constant influx of buyers and sellers into my business. See, most people don't even know this, but when you sit in open house, a third of the people who walk in have another house to sell before they can buy your house. So, when you're meeting buyers and sellers every Saturday. Now, looking at this week, does this look like a full work week? It looks like 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, that's 6 hours, and then 4 hours. That's a 10-hour work week. Now, if you can identify a realtor who commits to a 10-hour work week, then they can screw off doing other stuff the rest of the week. But as long as they have submitted to a higher authority. When I look at a realtor, I want to know that they've submitted to a higher power, some sort of a schedule that they're working so that they're submitting to tasks that are more important than the results. And you'll hear this among the great trainers of the United States residential real estate industry. If you manage your tasks more than you manage your results, you're going to be a great emerging realtor. If you manage your results, but you don't manage your tasks, you're never going to break through. You're going to probably be in one of the quit rates. So what we do for you as a mortgage banker is we pair your realtors up with different opportunities. So if you look at those little red stars, the orange red stars on the left, you start to see our job is to help the realtors decide and for them to become their own boss, right? To submit to a higher authority so that they start picking from different work bursts that we can do with them. Maybe they want to join a BNI group. Maybe they want to add value to business relationships. Maybe they want to specialize in marketing to an equestrian community or a particular golf club. Or maybe they want to work, maybe they're Buddhist and they want to go work at the Buddhist temple and become a religious advocate in residential real estate, meaning be the connection to that church for the real estate community. Or maybe I met a 28-year-old kid. He was a member of the Young Republicans Club, and he was very active in it. It looked like he had some political aspirations. So maybe he's a realtor, but he's very active in politics. Whatever the work bursts you choose, then you must bear the task as the realtor, right? So our job is to help guide your realtors to 4 or more sources of business where they can manifest 4 deals a year from each source of business. There's where 4x4 comes in, right? You get 4 sources of business with 4 time blocks per week. Then you end up with 16 transactions. 4 times 4 is 16 transactions. That's about 1 transaction per quarter per source of business, and that's become a pronounced philosophy in our world. And I'm going to wrap up on the Hero Benefits Network Catawba Valley Association of Realtor event coming up this Friday and tell everybody online today that the point that we're trying to make going out to Catawba is time blocking. Oh my gosh, I'm so boring. We just talk about time blocking so much. But what if you had an army of residential real estate professionals, that you had a sales force of a dozen or more realtors that were actively working in the Hero Benefits Network? So rather than, of course, they're still going to do their farming, they're still going to do their buy owners, they're still going to do their expireds, they're still going to do their absentee owner plan, they're still going to do their miracle letter, they're still going to represent themselves as a staging expert. But what if in addition to that, they were a Hero Benefits Network director? So you had a sales force of realtors sending this letter out to the chief of police, the fire station, the teachers union, the Police Benevolent Association. And it said, hey, help for housing is available to your sworn officers and civilian employees. These funds never have to be repaid. We gift law enforcement officers and other essential employees up to $10,000 to help with down payment, relocation, or closing costs. We offer free online registration at herobenefitsnetwork.org. And because I am the local benefits director, we could distribute vouchers and information at the station. Together, we can address the homeownership affordability crisis for law enforcement officers. So that letter would go out to the chief of police or the HR director at the law enforcement officer. Michelle Lusk is the chief nursing officer. So what if your real estate sales force sent out a letter to the chief nursing officer? And it's just the idea that we partner together with our realtors as a collaboration, a team, okay? If you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, click on that QR code, learn more. We'll set up a one-on-one. We'll get to know you better, and we'll see if we can work together more closely to grow your realtor referral network, industrialize your realtor acquisition, and really get ahead of the 2025 calendar year from a standpoint of realtor referred purchase business. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick. You can reach me at herobenefitsnetwork.org, and you can also reach me at workspartner.com. Thanks very much.